Hello to both the active and the passive participants of the 22 Data Analysis Challenge. Yesterday, we had our first round of presentation from the active participants. I just want to say congratulations to you guys. You guys did a great job. It's not easy for you to take up the challenge. But during the presentation, I highlighted some weak points or drawbacks of your presentation or your approach towards the data profiling and data preparation phase. And I want to seize this opportunity to highlight more on that by making a video and I show you how, if I was an active member, what are the steps I will take in order to do data profiling and data preparation. Okay, without further ado, let's go into action. Okay, guys. I would like to show you how normally, if I was an active participant, how I will approach the first phase of the data analysis, which is data profiling and preparation. Okay. Now, at this stage, it's more like you just getting to familiarize yourself with the data set. Just get a feeling of what this data set is all about and how it can actually help you to answer the business questions. Okay. And this is not the time for you to go like start diving deep into analysis or trying to run some sophisticated modeling or whatsoever. It is just for you to get a feeling of the data set and what are the potential things you can do in order to prepare the data for analysis. Okay, assume that for the active members, you all receive this, you receive access to this folder, and the folder contains information about, like the data set and the business question, right? So if I open the business question, it says the main objective of this is to evaluate. I know they're talking about, financial performance in terms of revenue, cost, profit margin. So everything here is more like terms of like, okay, profit, cost, margin. Then also, I think you should point to says your analysis should provide insight into the factors that influence the profitability of the company, such as okay, vendors, customer segment, article category, brand, and location. This is so important because you can actually get the profit of a company. They say the profit of a company can be like 2 million euros, but they want to know, okay, from which sector are we making much profit? Is it from which category of items? From which vendors are we making much profit, right? So that is the reason why they want you to break down the analysis above into those subcategories. And then the third point says your analysis should also compare the monthly revenue of the current year with the corresponding month of the previous year to assess the growth or decline of the company. Says, yeah, that definitely makes sense. So in terms of profit or sales, compare it with respect to last year. With last year, are we growing or we are declining? So basically, that is it, right? Just that it's more about just how well the business is doing in a general term, but also you break it down into subcategories. So having that in mind, okay, I know, okay, that is what I have to solve now, but this is just the business question. So let's move to the data set. Okay. Now, so I have the data set. So I think we received how many tables? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 tables, right? So before even importing the data set into your favorite tool, be it Power BI or be it Python or Arrow, sometimes it's just okay for you to just profile it using whatever possible easy tool you can use. So you receive Excel files, which means that you can open them in Excel, and just even browsing it in Excel can already help you answer some of the business questions or can help you with data profiling or just to get the feeling of what the data is. You cannot run analysis without even understanding what is the concept, what is the context you're actually doing an analysis. So I'll open the data sets. So we have vendor. So in this case, now I understand that some of you don't have probably the business background. but I don't think this is a sophisticated data set where you need some accounting or financial background in order to analyze this data. This is just the day-to-day e-commerce things that we do. Okay, you buy online. So you should probably already have a sense of what this data set is talking about. So vendors technically, in this case, they are like, okay, who are those supplying the goods to the company, right? So you don't expect so many vendors. Okay, I think this is the concept behind this. So in this case, we have 9 vendors. Okay, so you see they have the vendor code and the vendor itself. You realize that when you go to the other data sets, you will not actually see the vendor name. You see only the vendor code. This is database design. So when you're designing a database, these are the kind of things you take into consideration. I might highlight on this next time, but have that in mind. Okay, so that is that for vendor. So already you can already tell someone in terms of your profiling that we have 9 vendors. That is very key information you just have to mention. Okay, just report to your manager or whoever is asking you to solve this to answer those business questions that in our data set we have 9 vendors. Okay, that actually is a useful information. That's already one thing. Without even me importing this data set into any tool, I've already had one very important insight. The next thing I would like us to look at is you have the sales header. Okay, now the sales header is like this is more like a database design thing where, you know, I think most of you are all university degree holders. So just assume that when you enroll into university, they have your information. So you enroll into a program. So normally when you first of all enroll, they have a table that stores all your basic information about your name, your age, your gender, whatever about you that is, static. That information doesn't change. So that is student information. Now there's another table that will hold a program information. So you enroll into a program. So and when you enroll into a program, you enroll into one program in a university for a specific period of time. And in that program, you enroll into several courses. So that program that you have enrolled, this is an example of it. So it's just a header. So you realize that if I try to expand this, so you have like doc number, which can be like an entry, like just for example, your program enrollment. You could have one line to have one line. So for example, if I take note of this number, I will show you what this means. So the first one is doc 23/37984. The shipment was done in on that date, and it was the type of transaction was or shipment type was a shipment or was a return. The location was shop 2, and the customer who actually bought that thing was customer 0001, and the vendor who supplied it was VC4. Now this is already something that you can valuable information that you can use, in the sense that each line represents a transaction of a customer, and the transaction of the customer can be several items. Let's say you went to the shop, that's a transaction, and you bought several things. So the fact that you went to the shop or you went online to buy an item, they will register it as one line in this table. Then the different items that you actually bought will not be here. So they are related in another table. So already while browsing this, I already see something here. You look at the dates. There's something about the dates that doesn't make sense. Normally this is not how we represent dates. So maybe these dates, they are just like integers, which actually represents a date in real world. So you have to do something to convert those integers into real dates. So I already see that, okay, this is one thing I have to do for data preparation. I have to convert the dates, these integers, into real dates. That is already something I should probably do. Okay. For the shop, there's something specific to here. I see shop 3 with a special symbol. Why the special symbol? I don't know. That is something that we probably need to investigate, right? And the ship type, you see, basically most of them are shipment. They have some returns, shipment, you have return. So basically there are two main types of shipment, or there are two main shipment types. It's either a shipment or a return. You should understand e-commerce. Let's say you went to the shop, you bought something, you came back home, you know, yeah, for some reason you don't want it anymore, then you return it. So in that case, they will receive that same item and register as a return. You will see the effect of bringing something back or returning something back to the shop in the sales line. So that is that for the sales header table. Um, Before I move to customer, I just want to talk about the sales line and I come back to customer. Okay, so you have the sales header and then you have the sales line. Yeah, it's taking some time to load, but while it's loading, I will just I explain this using your program and your different courses. So you register into a program. Let's say you register into a program in data science. That is one line of transaction, but for each semester you're doing courses, right? So you have one program but several courses. So where they register the courses in the school database is an analogy of this sales line. It actually details out the different information. Okay, so you see here is the same thing I mentioned. Sorry, I'm using my iPad, so I have to really, yeah. So you see this doc number, which with it definitely is the exact number that you see in the sales header. So there must be a relationship between the sales header and this table. So that's why that is the column that is linking both tables. Ship document number maybe is an extra information. Then article number will maybe, okay, we haven't seen articles yet. You see that, okay, normally these guys are dealing with articles, right? So they just write the article number. For me to know the name of this article, I need to go and look for that article in the article table. Then definitely this is the sale price of the item, purchase price, amount, that is the quantity sold, what was the revenue made. So if you do the calculation well, you see that selling price times 2 gives you the 1,400, and the purchase price, which is 357 times the 2, will give you 714. Now that is already your revenue and your cost, so it's easy for me now to calculate gross margin, right? Take note, you're dealing with gross margin because the reason why it's gross margin is, when you're doing business, there are other expenses that are not directly related to the sales. Okay, you have to pay your employees, electricity bills and other stuff. That's why it's called gross margin. And to calculate gross margin, it's just the revenue minus the cost. So what's the amount you have made out of selling that product minus the cost of purchasing that product? So in this case, in the first line, it will be 1,400 minus 714. That is still your gross margin. Remember, you have to subtract the other expenses of the company, such as salaries, wages, and all those things, in order to get the real profit of the company. Now you realize that certain amounts are negative, right? These are examples where you actually do a return. You bought something and you return it. So if you look at my assumption here, is probably this guy is just an example. This guy bought 2 items the first time, then return one of the same article. Hopefully, yeah, you see the same article number, and return it. That is why you see the road -1. So technically, this guy just bought 1 item. Okay, so for them to balance, the sales, they use a minus to indicate that, okay, 1 was returned. So that is why you see you have positive and minus numbers. Now, I can already answer some business questions. I think they were asking what was the profit, I can already answer like the gross margin. If I click for example on the revenue table, if you see below on Excel, it gives me the average sales, it gives me average revenue count and the sum. If I do my calculations were 1 2 3 1 2 3, so it's like 99,612,744. That was the revenue made, right? Then if I do the cost, I get the same calculation. I get like I don't know, 63 million something, right? So for me to get the gross margin, I simply take the total of the revenue minus the total of the cost. I've already answered a business question without importing anything into any tool. That's me. I've already answered one core business question. So if the manager was like, I need to get information about our gross margin now, then I have already answered it without actually doing anything. Take note, that is the gross margin for the business. I don't know when this data was collected, for how many years it was collected, but from day number one right up to the day we have received this data set, that is the gross margin they have actually made. Now, for you to go further and break this gross margin into the different like categories, which item is actually giving us more gross margin, or which vendor or which customer, stuff like that, or in which month, which year, then that is when you really have to import into a tool and really break down the analysis using those categories. So that's that for the sales line. Now you realize that most of the time, you see, like in the sales header, let me go back to the sales header. You just see like they have the customer CC001 and vendor and PC4. So for the customer, how do you know the details of the customer who is actually buying? So you go to the customer table. You see now, if I need to know the details of that customer, I need like C1. I think that is the customer name. Where is the customer located? That is the location of the location, but this location still doesn't really make sense. BE2 218. So I don't know if BE stands for Belgium or whatever, but we need further information to like, okay, align this code with a location, like a name of a city or country. Segment as well, we don't know, just a segment code and vendor code. So these are examples of where when you're doing your data modeling, you have to combine tables in order to get the real values of certain codes. So I've explained almost everything. No articles, we're dealing with articles, right? These guys, they're selling articles, so you need to know the details about those articles. So you see now, if I needed to know, when you're reporting this, you don't need to, if you tell someone the article number is at 001, your manager, you don't expect your manager to know all the articles numbers. So it is preferable to give the article description. So when we talk about at 001, it's a keyboard and whatever, and that's the selling price, purchase price. Sometimes you might also want to talk about the brand. So this is like the brands. There are 37 brands. It's showing that there are 37 items. Okay. And the category as well. The unit. I think the start date is just the dates, the items they were registered into the system. So I've done some profiling already, right? Without me actually importing into any tool. I know that, okay, in terms of articles, there are 37 articles. I don't need to, there are 37 articles. I've already estimated in terms of customers, how many customers do we have. I can highlight, and Excel will tell me. I think Excel is still calculating. Let me do that. There are 305 customers. Simple. Without doing anything. These are information that you need to report to your manager about, just after profiling the data set. Okay. Yeah, but I know you guys are curious how I will import this into a tool and do some data profiling, and how we can do more advanced profiling, because Excel is limited. You cannot really do a lot with Excel, but it's preferable to also import in a tool to get some advanced profiling and see more into the data. So yeah, meet me on the other side, where I actually have to write some codes, something I'm running away from, but you guys keep pushing me to write codes. Okay, see you. Hi guys, before I share with you my Python version of the data profiling, I just want to seize this opportunity to talk about some of the trainings we do offer. So head on to our website, www.graffiland.com/training, or you just land on the homepage, you come to offerings, and you come to skill development and training. Uh, You can take some time to watch the video if you haven't watched the video yet. How we offer our training, what is peculiar about our training platform. Here we have a plethora of trainings that we do offer. So business analysis is a whole program with sub courses. We also do data analysis. Microsoft Power BI, right? Microsoft Power BI is one of the tools some of the active members are using for the data analysis challenge. You can see as well, we do have other courses: Agile Project Management, Cloud Fundamental, Data Fundamentals, Machine Learning, Git and GitHub, Python Programming one, Arrow Programming. So these are just some of the courses and or trainings we do offer as of now. For example, let's say you're interested in business analysis or data analysis. This is a whole program, which means it is made up of sub courses, right, or sub trainings. So simply click on it, and it will take you to the detail section of the program, data analysis. Yeah, so here we go. You can read, it's a 12 weeks, for example, 2 sessions per week, blah, 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 all those things. You can just look at what you can learn, what are the skills you can gain, and all those stuffs. And these are the sub courses, right? So data analysis is the whole program. So we offer database and SQL as a course, and also there's Git and GitHub, and there's Python programming one for data analysis. So that is that for data analysis. And if this interests you and you want to enroll, it's simple. Just click on the enroll button, and you lead you to the page where you have to enroll. And something also good, you can attend the first class for free. Okay, the first session for free. And if you find it good, then you can enroll. If it's not your thing, or if maybe the instructor is not your match, then it's okay. You can still quit after attending the first session. Okay, I will switch now to my code, and let's look at what I did for the data profiling of the challenge. Okay, guys, so I'm using Visual Studio Code as my IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Interface, right? And the language, the tool I'm using is Python. So the tool doesn't really matter. It's what really matters here is your ability to do data analysis. So you can probably repeat the same thing using Arrow programming, or you can do it using Tableau or Power BI or whatsoever. But the steps are almost the same. Okay, so yeah, I'm using a Jupyter notebook to make it easy for you guys to follow up, right? So normally the first part is just giving just a project description. So the whole goal is like, if someone lands on this file, they should understand that I did this because for this purpose, and it was done by this person and on this date. Okay, so yeah, for those who know how to program in Python, importing your packages, then yeah, I'm importing my data set. Now, this is the first level of the profiling, right? So yeah, I'm importing the article table, and just importing and looking at a preview of the table, I already see something that I need to take care of. So you see, everything looks well. This is just the first 5 rows of the table. Everything looks well, except for the unit column. You see, for the unit column, the first five is all none, so they are null values. So I really have to handle this. Okay. Now, but looking at just the first 5 rows of a table will not really give you a good feeling of the table, right? Or the data set. So normally you do this, there are packages in Python. So I used a profile, one of the profile packages that gives me this report. So for that specific table, you see, I do have, like, it gives me the number of variables, number of observations, missing cells, and missing cells percentage. So this is another warning sign that, okay, I do have some missing value somewhere which I have to handle. The other metrics looks good. They're not duplicate values, and so on and so forth. Then I think in my last video, I spoke about the variable types, right? So you need to understand that some of your variables will be text, numeric. Based on that, the kind of statistics you need to get depending on that. So very, very important. You need to make sure that your tool has imported the data using the right data type. So I already see three versus, so three text, three numeric, and one date and time. Let's just quickly look at that. So I expect article number to be text, right? This cannot be numerical. Same wise, article description and brand. So these are the three text data types. I expect selling price, purchase price, article category code, and date start date obviously is a date and time. Now this is an example where I think he got it wrong. Okay, because even though these are integers, at article category code, which is 8, 10, these are just like, it doesn't mean that they are eight numbers. No, it means it's a code. They can give you, for example, student number one, student number two, student number three, student number four. And if you're doing a metric and you see the average student ID is, it doesn't make sense. You cannot calculate the average of a student ID. It doesn't make sense. So this is an example where, okay, based on the values in the column, the software actually detected it as an integer, but truly this is not an integer. This is an example where you need to force it, tell the program this is not an integer. It stands for a category. If you haven't watched my previous video about data profiling, I think I gave an example of gender where in the software they'll register male as one, female as two. And if you go and you're doing average on that, it will make no sense. This is a good example. So watch this watch this type of scenarios. Okay, let's just go deep into the profiling. I see the article number. It gives me, okay, distinct 36, because if you look well, there were 36 rows, right? So I expect that since this is an article table, so each line in the table represents an article. I'm going to use the analogy of student information. If you go to the student table in the database at the university, we expect that each line, each record should uniquely identify a student or uniquely represent a student. So it's the same thing with the article table. The article table is just a table where you actually record all the articles that in this case the business is selling. So I don't expect to go somewhere and I see the same article down somewhere. No. So each record here uniquely identifies a particular article in the business. So I expect to see everything to be unique. So I think it makes sense to have 36, 100% distinct, and so on and so forth. No missing value. So article number is perfect. Article description. Same for each article they want to describe. Yeah. Um, for this description, do we really need it? So there are 36 distinct descriptions. Do you really need the description in order to run an analysis? Good question. For example, if I come here, you see, I don't think I really need the description. For example, I will not want to analyze revenue by description. I might want to analyze revenue by article number. Okay. But anyways, I think article description like is the article name. So let's keep it because I would like to see how much revenue did I make from keyboard HP 7122. So I think the article description is good to keep, because if I just tell you the revenue it's at 001, then not it doesn't make sense to anyone. So that was that for article description. So yes, we can keep that. For the selling price, yeah, when you register the product, you actually put the selling price at that moment. But with time, selling price will change. Your selling price and your cost price will depend on how much you are buying from your vendors. So maybe this is just like a default selling price. Okay. So yeah, but let's just move on. In selling price, these are all numbers. So stuff like distinct, and for me, it doesn't really make sense to have distinct, to say you're reporting distinct selling prices. That information does not, like, yeah, it doesn't really have anything to say. So something like this is not something you have to report. I think what is of interest, if you want to report something here, could be, okay, the minimum selling price of the 36 items we have is 16, while the maximum, our most expensive article is 18,000, 1,850. That is something um, you might want to report. And you see, I'm using the business term. I say our most expensive article that we are selling is 1,850. On average, the articles in the business, those will sell them at 429. I don't know which currency is this, 29 euros, for example. Same thing for the purchase price. You can report that. But well, in the business perspective, I don't think this is. I would like to really emphasize on the selling price here and also the purchase price here, because I said these prices would depend on, when you buy from your vendors at the time, what is the selling and purchase price. Okay, I'm going to also explain why I don't think I will need these columns here, or I'll need to keep these columns. I think the brand also, now there are so many brands. I see distinct brands of like 20. There are just so many brands. So out of 36 items, there are 20 brands. Hmm. Yeah. If there were five brands, I might want to look at my gross margin with respect to five brands, but 20 brands, that's just a lot. So question mark, if I have to keep this, it will now depend on the business, on the director, or my stakeholders, if they're interested to see the brands, the profit made for each brand. But for me, the fact that I already see these high levels of brands, I wouldn't really analyze profit with respect to brand. Okay. um Article category code, I already explained this. These are just numbers, but if I say the gross margin made for article category code 8 is 6 million, the fact that it's just a number, no one is ever going no one is no I think just saying category 8 doesn't really make sense, except everyone in the business understands that category 8 stands for something. But if maybe someone doesn't really understand these numbers, then I don't think it makes sense for you to report gross margin by category code. Now you see unit, the fact that it was 100% missing, the profiling already detected that this thing is not good. Okay, they just have to delete it. So yeah, in this case, you just have to remove the unit column. That is a potential data preparation step. And for the start date as well, yeah, it looks good, no missing values. But in the sense of business, I don't think the start date of the product registration or the article registration really makes sense. Will I want to know the gross margin of products that were registered in the system 5 years back? If that is a business question, then okay, you can keep the start date. But in the business questions that we receive, I don't think there was anything like that. So keeping the start date also question mark, I will want to remove the start date column. Now, so there are other things you can check here, right? Check interactions, correlation, and all those things. But in this our scenario, it's not very, it's not that important. Now, I also just made my own notes. These are just notes that I can share with the manager and say, okay, based on my observation, these are the things I saw, and these are the things I noted. Let's discuss about them, and we take action. Take note, I'm just making notes. I haven't taken any action for data preparation. I just mentioned that, okay, I might remove the start date because of this reason. If you're proposing to do something, always give a reason why you want to take that action. Okay. So that is that. So you do the same for all the different tables, right? So I imported bank holidays, I did the profiling, I imported the other ones as well. So customer segment, I did the profiling. I'm not going to go into all of this. But the one I really want to focus on is the sales line. Now, when you're doing data analysis, there's also going to be a table where it is where the detailed information is where you can find detailed information, and that table is always called the facts table. For those that actually know modeling, there is a special type of data model that you use for data analysis, which is called the star schema model, right? Hopefully, in the days ahead, I will make a video about star schema versus the relational model. Okay, so this is the fact table. Why is it the fact table? Because I know it has detailed information about the sales, and you see it has everything that I need to know. Okay, yeah, I do have, you see, this is just the sales line. So in the previously I explained the difference between the sales header and the sales line. So when you carry out a transaction, it is recorded in the sales, I think it's above here, as the sales header is recorded there, and the detail of each transaction. So for this transaction, this customer might have bought like 5 items. So if I go now to the sales line, maybe we can, hopefully this could have one. So let's see if this, unfortunately, this is not okay. So in these examples, in the first few items I see, there was just one item bought for each transaction. Okay, this might not be, this might change. Let's just see if I extend the head to 10. Oh, sorry guys, I have to import everything again. Let me import this. Okay, and where did I get that error? Yeah, so I import my data set again. Now it's taking time because it's quite a lot. So if you look at the doc number, uh, unfortunately, none of them are repeating. But I guess if you go down for like the other records, you'll notice that some of these numbers here will repeat. Okay. Reason being that when it repeats, it means that for this for those header, more items were bought. But anyways, that's something for another day. Now, you see, these are the selling prices I really want to keep, because this is the selling price at the time the item was being sold. So yes, this article number might have a different selling price that was registered in the article table than when it was sold. Okay, but maybe in this business everything is always fixed, so it might be the same always. um Okay, so this is the selling price, this is the purchase price, this is amount, right? So we sold at this price, but this is the price we bought the item, and two was sold. Then the revenue, revenue is the selling price times the amount, right? That's why you have 1,400. And the cost is the purchase price, which is this amount times amount two, that gives us this value. Okay, now something very important, the whole analysis talks about gross margin. You need to know how profitable the business is, and profitability really talks about how much revenue you have made minus the total expense of the business. But this is just the expense of you selling this product. So if you take revenue minus cost, it doesn't give you profit as of now. It gives you what is called gross margin. For those that have done accounting, um, you should understand what is gross margin, right? So that gives you gross margin. But if you really need to know the profit of the business, then you need to take into consideration other expenses such as wages, salaries, electricity bills, utility bills, all those things. You need to include them in order to get the real profit of the business. So truly, in this data set, the only thing we can get is gross margin. Now, you clearly see that I've been talking about gross margin, and gross margin is simply the difference between revenue and cost. So already I can think of one extra column I need to add, or variable I need to add, which is going to be revenue minus cost to give my gross margin. And that was that for the first 10 rows. You can go into the detail report here as well. You can check it out. I'm not going to go into the details, but everything looks good. So obviously I need to keep the doc number because it relates to my header. For the shipment document number, I don't think I really need it. I can delete that one as well. I need the article number because I will need to know the article name. The article number here doesn't make sense, but if I join with the article table, then I can get the article name. Selling price, I need it. Purchase price, I need it. I need amount, I need revenue, I need cost. So I need to add that one extra table, one extra column. Now, if you were vigilant, you notice the negative numbers, which I already explained why you had the negative numbers for returns, right? So you don't need to manually handle anything here because it actually helps. You see, there's a balance. So, for example, if this guy bought the two items and brought back one, if you do the summation of these two numbers, it will give you the difference, which makes sense. So again, I wrote down some notes why or certain things I can do. So no missing value found, which is good. This is the fact table, so I already know in my mind that it's a fact table. Ship document number is not needed. That is just my thinking as well. Gross margin needs to be calculated, so I added a value or the formula to calculate gross margin. Now, so this is just, if I had to do profiling, that's my profiling, and what are the potential data preparation steps I could do. I've explained them as well. Maybe something also very, very important in the sales header table. I mentioned that the values here don't, these are not true date values. So one potential data preparation step could be to convert these numbers into real dates and time. Okay. And when you have the date, it's just a date. The date is made up of the day, the month, and the year, right? If you really want to analyze your data, and then you probably want to see what, I think one of the business question was, what was the sales of this year to respect to last year? So from the dates column, I will extract more variables, such as I need to extract the month, I need to extract the quarter, I need to extract the year, so that I can do the profit analysis based on year, based on quarter, based on month as well. Or maybe weekends as well. Do we sell more in the weekend than the weekdays? Those are some of the things you want to do. So you're already preparing your data as you're moving ahead based on the business question. And you drop some of the columns that you don't need to answer your business question. So, guys, that was it for the data profiling. Um yeah, you can have this my code is on my GitHub profile. I'm going to share with you the link to that, which you can download, and if you want to play around with it, you can play. But unfortunately, you will not be able to play around with the code because you don't have access to the data. I'm talking about the passive guys. Yeah. I will just go to GitHub and show you where I have the code. Then I'll also share the link for you to download, or for you to, yeah, to download the repository. So guys, currently I'm on GitHub. So Graffiland has a whole GitHub space where we deposit all our codes, everything that has to do with coding. We have them here. So I've made this repository public. Anyone can see it. You can clearly see it's public. So basically, it's just what I just showed you, but somewhere in the cloud where you can access it. So what I was presenting was on my personal laptop, but this is a version where you can actually download. For those of you who know how to use GitHub, you can actually clone this repository and play around. If you're active, yes, you do have access to the data. But if you're a passive member, maybe you just want to see how I did my coding. There's nothing fancy that I did. It was just me trying things around in a short period of time. Okay, guys, so that was it. I hope the guidelines I've presented will help you to do data profiling and preparation whenever you're doing data analysis. And remember, if you are facing difficulties with data analysis, we do offer trainings. You can enroll into one of our training programs. Remember, we leverage industry professionals who have exercised their skills in top companies globally. So, see you next time.